The rain had just stopped when the moment happened, the kind of gray, heavy afternoon where the world feels tired and people move faster just to get away from their own thoughts, and that was when a massive black motorcycle rolled into the corner of a nearly empty roadside park, its engine cutting through the silence like a warning. Yet the real storm was not the biker arriving but the small figure standing near a broken bench. A limping boy with one shoe torn at the heel, his jeans too short. His face carrying a kind of fear that no child should ever have to learn. And before you go any further into this story, if you believe that kindness still exists in a world that often feels cold, if you believe in second chances and quiet miracles, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who needs hope today, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Because stories like this connect hearts across the world. The biker's name was Marcus Hale, a man whose size alone made people cross the street, broad shoulders wrapped in worn leather, a beard threaded with gray, scars peeking from under his sleeves like memories he never talked about, and for years people had looked at him and seen danger, trouble, someone to avoid, never imagining that beneath the patched vest and the thunder of his bike was a man who carried his own limp inside his soul, a limp that came from a past filled with loss, regret, and nights when sleep never came easily. Marcus had stopped there for no reason other than exhaustion, the kind that seeps into your bones when you've been running from your past for too long, and as he sat on the bench, helmet beside him, eyes fixed on the wet pavement, he noticed the boy hovering nearby, shifting his weight from one foot to the other, wincing slightly every time his weaker leg touched the ground, the boy's name unknown to him, but the pain unmistakable. People passed by earlier, some glancing, some pretending not to see, but no one stopped. No one noticed how the boy kept looking at the empty space beside Marcus, as if that bench represented something more than a place to sit, as if it was safety itself. The boy had been walking for hours, limping through streets that did not care, running from a house that never felt like home, his leg injured weeks ago in an accident no one bothered to treat properly, his heart heavier than his small body could handle, and when he finally gathered the courage to step closer to the biker, it wasn't because he thought Marcus was kind, but because he thought Marcus was strong enough that no one would hurt him there. Marcus felt the presence before he fully turned, the way you feel a shift in the air, and when he looked down, he saw eyes that reminded him painfully of his own childhood, eyes that had learned too early how to ask without speaking, how to survive on hope thinner than paper. The boy lowered himself carefully onto the edge of the bench, leaving space between them, breathing out slowly as if sitting down itself was a victory, and Marcus noticed the torn shoe, the bruised ankle, the hands clenched tight together, and something inside him cracked, because years ago, before the bike, before the road, before the mistakes, he had been a boy sitting alone too, ignored by the world, waiting for someone, anyone, to notice. The park was quiet except for distant traffic, and in that stillness, memories flooded Marcus's mind, memories of his younger brother Daniel, who used to limp just like that after an accident on an old staircase, a limp that never fully healed, a limp Marcus used to tease him about until the day Daniel ran away after a fight and never came back, a disappearance that haunted Marcus every mile he rode. Every night he stared at motel ceilings wondering what he could have done differently. As the boy sat there, Marcus found himself staying longer than planned, his usual restlessness replaced by a strange calm, and though no words were exchanged, the silence between them grew heavy with unspoken stories. Time passed in that quiet way it sometimes does when two broken souls share the same space, and eventually the boy relaxed slightly, his shoulders dropping, his breathing evening out, as if just being near someone solid gave him permission to rest. And Marcus realized with a start that this was the first time in years someone had trusted him without knowing his name. The sky darkened again, threatening more rain, and Marcus knew the boy couldn't just sit there forever, but as he looked closer, he noticed marks on the boy's arms, old bruises mixed with newer ones, the kind that told a story Marcus didn't want to believe but knew too well, a story of neglect, of fear behind closed doors, of a child slipping through cracks adults pretended didn't exist. The biker's heart pounded harder than it ever did on the open road, because helping the boy meant getting involved, and getting involved meant opening wounds Marcus had spent years trying to seal shut, yet doing nothing felt worse, like repeating the same mistake that had cost him his brother. Slowly, carefully, Marcus stood, towering over the bench, not to intimidate but to shield, positioning himself so the boy was no longer exposed to the world, and as rain began to fall again in soft, steady drops, Marcus removed his jacket and draped it gently over the boy's shoulders, the leather heavy but warm, smelling of oil, road dust, and something steady, something safe. The boy flinched at first, then relaxed, gripping the edges of the jacket like it was the most valuable thing he'd ever held, and in that moment, Marcus understood something unthinkable, something that made his chest ache, because the boy wasn't just any lost child, he carried a small, faded photograph folded and refolded in his pocket, a photograph Marcus recognized instantly when it slipped out onto the bench. A picture of two brothers standing beside an old motorcycle, one tall, one limping. Smiling like the world hadn't broken them yet, a picture Marcus hadn't seen in decades. The realization hit him like a crash, knocking the breath from his lungs, because the boy sitting beside him wasn't just a stranger seeking a place to rest, he was Daniel's son, the nephew Marcus never knew existed, the living echo of the brother he lost, and suddenly the road, the years, the guilt all collided into one overwhelming truth that changed everything. Marcus didn't cry then, not yet, but something inside him finally stopped running, and as the rain washed the pavement clean, it felt like it was washing him too, giving him a chance he thought he'd missed forever. What followed wasn't easy, because helping the boy meant confronting authorities, facing uncomfortable questions, stepping into responsibility Marcus had avoided his whole life, but step by step, limp by limp, they moved forward together, doctor visits for the leg that finally healed properly, nights where the boy slept without fear for the first time, mornings where Marcus learned how to make breakfast instead of excuses, and slowly, the biker known for his scars became known for something else entirely, a man who stopped, who stayed, who chose kindness when walking away would have been easier. Near the end of this journey, as the boy laughed freely in the park where it all began, running without pain, Marcus sat on the same bench, watching, realizing that the unthinkable discovery hadn't been the connection of blood alone, but the truth that redemption can arrive quietly, limping toward you, asking only for a place to sit. If this story reached something deep inside you, if it reminded you that small acts can change entire lives, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe, because your support helps keep stories like this alive and reaching others who need them. And before this story ends, tell us in the comments what kindness means to you, because your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today.